Luka drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left: flight. He squinted down the barrel of the mission control defense cannon, aiming it through an opening in the dense tree branches. He looked up with surprise as it struck true and taut. Luka and Iggy winced as they sprinted through the thicket. The branches clawed at them, reluctant to give passage. After what felt like a marathon, Luka stopped in his tracks as they reached the clearing. What the? That was all he was able to say before Iggy slammed into his back. The boys tumbled down a steep decline and crashed with a wheezing thud on a surface as hard as ice. In fact, it was ice. Chapter 5. Signs. They stood silently, catching their breath. The sky was like sapphire. With each breath, a plume of steam escaped from Luka's lungs. Let's keep moving. Luka pulled Iggy to his feet as they gazed across a snowy terrain. Luka had almost forgotten the walkie-talkie he was carrying. Luka looked at Iggy with hesitation. With a resigned sigh, Luka responded. Luka winced, shoving the walkie-talkie back into his pocket. A disc of smooth metal was lightly covered in snow. Two faint seams were visible along the surface. The boys stared in disbelief at the sign that now clearly read, "Welcome to Beacon Pines." Looking down at the frozen stream, Luka could faintly see a school of minnows encased in the ice. The fencing glistened, each chain link encapsulated with a translucent layer of ice. The crunching of footsteps trailing Luka went hush. He looked back to see Iggy's face twisted with confusion. Luka peered upward at the darkening sky. He let out a long, foggy breath. Faintly, Iggy began to cry. Seeing Iggy in such a pathetic state gave Luka a sense of compassion and more than a little guilt. Luka allowed himself to collapse next to Iggy. The boys huddled together for warmth and comfort. If not for exhaustion, their minds would be racing, trying to make sense of the events of the day. As it was, all they had energy for was to sit in silence, numb. Iggy motioned sarcastically to his half-deformed face. Iggy shrugged. Iggy now wept openly. He wiped his nose with a sleeve. Luka gave a warm chuckle. Iggy cleared his throat as he wiped his eyes. Iggy arched into a wide yawn. Luka's eyelids began to slowly drift shut. That's all Luka could whisper before succumbing to sleep. Iggy snuggled in some more. The house smelled of warm bread. Luka was playing with toy blocks on the living room rug. He looked up to see his parents on the couch. His mother held his father's head in her lap. She idly stroked his hair while humming a song. A voice behind Luka spoke. "This is how you remember them, huh?" Luka turned to see his own face. The doppelganger from his dreams, still clad in a yellow hazmat suit, still carrying a look of disdain behind empty eyes. Aww, look at this perfectly cozy scene. You know it wasn't really like this. The figure picked up a toy block and inspected it. It's amazing the facades that one can build given the right materials. Not that I blame us. These are a child's memories, all warm and fuzzy. You don't remember, do you? Luka snatched the block from the figure's yellow-gloved hand. Remember what? The doppelganger pointed to the couch. The last day we saw him alive. The day he chose to abandon us. Luka turned to look at his father, still lounging on the couch. That's not true. He didn't abandon us. The doppelganger waved his hand dismissively. Everything is true here. It's just a matter of what we choose to see. Well, let me show you. The world flickered and pulsed. Luka was sitting next to his bed, listening to his heartbeat with one of his dad's stethoscopes. The doppelganger limped into the room. Now, we both know that's not how this went. He grabbed Luka's hand and guided the stethoscope to the floor. Luka heard muffled shouting, brought close by the stethoscope. It was his parents, fighting. Do you remember what we did next? Luka gave a slow nod and crept down the hall to peek through the banister. He could see the outline of his mother at the bottom of the stairs. Damn it, Walt. We can't afford to get involved in this. She was scared. His father stepped forward. What am I supposed to do? Just watch? There's a sickness in this town, and we both know who's behind it. I swore an oath to help people. I won't turn my back on them. Luka's mother grabbed Walt. She was crying, pleading. I can't lose you. Walt calmly removed Eleanor's hand from his shoulder. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. I could never live with myself if I let Sharper get away with this. Eleanor raised her voice. Spare me your bullshit platitudes. What about our son? Luka flinched, dropping the stethoscope down the stairs. Walt turned with a panicked smile. Luka, is that you, buddy? With tears in his eyes, Luka descended the stairs. Mom? Dad? What's going on? Walt dropped to a knee to meet Luka eye to eye. Nothing, buckaroo. Your mom and I just got a little overexcited is all. Luka placed the stethoscope against his father's chest. His heart was racing. It sounded like you were going somewhere? Walt gently removed the device from Luka's ears. Listen to me, Luka. I have some business to take care of. I'll be back in time to tuck you in. Luka hugged his father tightly. promise?" Walt stood up and walked to the door. He glanced over his shoulder. "I promise." With a wink and a grin, he put on his hat and strode out into the evening sun. A figure approached soundlessly from the foggy snowfall. It stood above them, lingering in contemplation. Slowly raising one hand above Iggy, it snapped out 2 brisk raps on his head. From a deep slumber, Iggy sprang up defensively. Whether it was the calming presence or the recognition that he was not in danger, Iggy felt his clenched fists lower. Luka looked up, gradually remembering his whereabouts. The figure exhaled a cloud of warm vapor. When it came to complete strangers, Iggy had trouble cobbling together an insult. Iggy huffed with gratification. Nat began to turn away indifferently. Iggy turned sharply and began to stomp off. Realizing he'd worn their patience thin, Nat relented. Luka and Iggy turned around with hope in their eyes. Nat took a deep breath in. Nat exhaled slowly, then snapped his fingers. For a brief moment, Luka and Iggy let themselves believe that some great magic was about to unfold, until they opened their eyes and found themselves in the exact same place, cold and disheartened. Nat narrowed his eyes, furrowed his brow, and uttered, Luka began to laugh uncomfortably. He looked down at his feet. His eyes started back and forth in contemplation. With a sudden pain, a thought struck him. He sprinted off into the pale distance. As Iggy turned to follow, Nat called out, Chapter 6.